CAF has announced new media rights and TV agreements for the 2024-2025 CAF Interclub Competitions. This following a successful bidding process for the pay TV and free-to-air broadcasters in Sub-Saharan Africa. Now, Supersport, SABC and AzamTV have been announced as the rights holders in the region, with the African football custodian looking to increase accessibility and engagement following a growth of over 40% in both TV audiences and digital engagement during the 2023-24 CAF Champions League. Now, joining me to expand a bit more on this is CAF Head of TV and Communications, Luxolo, who joins us now via Zoom from Cairo. Lux, thank you so much for making time for us here on the AM Report. And of course, that is the big news that CAF has announced in terms of Sub-Saharan Africa broadcasting rights. But what exactly does this mean if we are to unpack it for the benefit of our viewers?
Well, good morning. I think it actually means that at a time when the major broadcasters are disinvesting in some of the global rights, sporting rights, the CAF rights are on the rise. We've recorded it at the last AFCON, a 38% increase in revenues, about 80% increase in audiences. And obviously with Interclub in the last season, we recorded about 40% increase in audiences. There is a clear appetite for African football. And I also think that the broadcasters and the investors are appreciating the environment of CAF right now. Professionally run, good leadership. One cannot understate the impact that the leadership of Dr. Patrice Motsepe has had, the impact that it has in giving confidence to investors. But that alone is not enough. You've got to have the people in the office who are able to drive the value, understand the value of football, who also understand the commercial aspect of the game. So really thank you big thanks to our new commercial partners, Supersport, SABC, Azam, who joined a list of the broadcasters. You'll remember that in the last AFCON, 110 broadcasters showed in the last AFCON. So there is a clear growth. These are, obviously, this is not by miracle. This is men and women who are working day and night trying to create value.
Yeah, and you speak about the successes of AFCON and, of course, a 40% increase in terms of what we saw in viewership numbers for the CAF Champions League. So why then did you go with these particular three broadcasters for this region?
Well, look, the most important thing, first of all, is access. You've got to give access to people. In football, we've got to achieve a certain balance. Actually, in sport rights, we have to achieve a certain balance between profitability and access. And I think at the moment, CAF in the last year or two has been able to hit the right balance when it comes to this. Supersport present in most part of Sub-Saharan Africa. Azam, a huge player in the East African market at the moment. SABC and Nomsa has really turned around. I think anyone can see it now. So these are three credible broadcasters in this space. We still maintain our other agreements with Bein Sport, Canal Plus, and a number of other TV stations. We just last night, actually, I was up until about 2 a.m. this morning. We're finalizing a deal with the US in one of the markets there. So it shows that there is actually an appetite for African football. And now with the start of the Interclub in the next 3 weeks, we cannot wait for this.
Yeah, let's talk about what this actually means. So is it just for the 2024-25 season and that the process then will be reinitiated going forward? Or what does this mean? When does it start and when does it end in terms of the agreement that's currently in place?
Well, look, we decided for purely logistics purposes to run a one-season tender, purely because we want to align the tenders back again with the cycles of AFCON. The next tender cycle will be next year, as you can imagine, for 2027, 2029. So it's better for us once we create an alignment. Once we've had a misalignment, we've got to create an alignment next season. So it was actually easier for us, and we engage our partners on this, that we will sell one season. By the way, this is the first time ever we've ever sold the Interclub rights separately. And everyone was telling me that we cannot do this. But now there's a huge appetite. We know there is a huge appetite for African football. But not only in the broadcast space, but the sponsors are coming back. You know that at the last AFCON, we grew the sponsorship portfolio from 7 partners to 17 partners at the last AFCON. So that means that African football at the moment, you also see this in South Africa.
Yeah.
I watch a little bit of what's happening with your league there. The stadiums are full every week. But so the market now has to talk to that. It can't just be happy 90 minutes. It must be happy 90 minutes. This leads to commercial revenue. That leads to returns. Obviously, South Africa can retain its best players. The model that you guys have in South Africa, whereby your best players play in the league. I know a lot of people criticize this, but actually it's a strength for your league because you are able to retain interest. You are able to commercialize your game in South Africa.
Yeah, Lux, we are running out of time, so I do have to sneak this in before I let you go. But we've been waiting eagerly to find out what's going to happen with the AFL. A number of deals being concluded in terms of competitions, in terms of broadcast rights. What can you tell us about when that is expected to be staged and perhaps where one would be willing or able to watch it?
Well, there is an engagement process that is still taking place. You will know that the AFL is not entirely, is owned by CAF, by FIFA, and a huge stakeholder in that is the clubs, We've got the African Club Association now, which CAF is engaging with in relation to dates, in relation to the dates, the calendar. Everyone is facing, not only in Africa, but globally, the question of calendar. We've got to be sensitive as CAF. We've got to think about the future of the game, and the future of the game is at club level. It's the clubs that are playing in their own national leagues that are attractive, that are successful. So whatever we are doing, we must find a balance between what works for African football, what works for leagues, and what works commercially. And
so we don't have a date yet then, Lux?
We have an engagement. We have an engagement period. And I think it's important for us to engage, to take as much time as possible to engage.
All right, well, we'll wait to hear what's going to happen with that, particularly considering the player workload conversation that's now happening in the background. But thank you so much. That is the Luxolo September, the head of TV and communications at CAF, just sharing details on that new broadcast deal. Let's go for a